the Great Emu War. In the annals of military history, few campaigns are as peculiar or as ignominious as Australia's Great Emu War. This bizarre conflict, which took place in late 1932, saw the Australian Army pitted against an unlikely enemy, the emu. These large, flightless birds had become a scourge to farmers in Western Australia, and the government's attempt to cull them led to a series of comical and largely unsuccessful engagements. The roots of the conflict lay in the economic hardships of the Great Depression. Following World War I, Australian soldiers were given land in the western part of the country to take up farming. However, as the global economy faltered, these farmers struggled to make ends meet. To make matters worse, a severe drought had forced many emus, which normally lived inland, to migrate to the coastal regions. There, they found an abundant supply of food in the farmers' crops. By November 1932, the situation had become untenable. Emus, numbering in the tens of thousands, were devouring wheat and trampling farmland, leaving devastation in their wake. Desperate for a solution, the farmers turned to the government for help. The Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce, decided to deploy military resources to combat the avian invaders, reasoning that soldiers armed with machine guns could swiftly deal with the problem. The military operation was led by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. His force was equipped with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. On November 2, 1932, the campaign began in earnest. However, the emus proved to be far more elusive and resilient than anticipated. The first engagement took place near the town of Campion, where a flock of around 50 emus was sighted. As the soldiers opened fire, the emus scattered in all directions, making it difficult to hit them. Despite firing several hundred rounds, only a handful of birds were killed. The emus displayed a remarkable ability to dodge bullets, and their high-speed evasive maneuvers frustrated the soldiers. Over the next few days, the soldiers continued their efforts, but the results were dismal. On November 4th, Meredith decided to ambush a large flock near a dam. This time, the soldiers managed to kill around 12 birds before their gun jammed. As the days went on, the emus seemed to develop a tactical awareness, often splitting into smaller groups that were harder to target. The campaign's most infamous moment came when the soldiers mounted one of the machine guns on a truck, hoping to chase down the emus. However, the rough terrain made it nearly impossible to aim accurately, and the truck's speed was no match for the agile birds. The operation ended in farce, with no significant gains and a demoralized crew. By December, it was clear that the emu culling operation was a failure. Major Meredith reported that his men had used 2,500 rounds of ammunition and killed only about 200 emus. The cost-effectiveness of the mission was heavily criticized, and the soldiers were withdrawn. The emus, having outwitted the military, continued to plague the farmers. In the aftermath, the government faced ridicule both domestically and internationally. The Great Emu War became a symbol of bureaucratic absurdity and the unpredictable challenges of wildlife management. While the emus won the war, the episode did lead to some changes. The government eventually implemented a bounty system that incentivized individual hunters to kill emus, which proved more effective than the military approach. The Great Emu War stands as a curious footnote in history, highlighting the complexities and sometimes farcical nature of human efforts to control the natural world. It is a story of unexpected resilience and adaptability, where nature's wily adversaries outmaneuvered modern technology. The emu's victory reminds us of the humility required in our interactions with the environment and the unpredictable outcomes of human intervention.